We're here at the BioProducts Cluster Workshop with Scott Wiebe, the CEO of CRIBE, the Center for Research and Innovation in the Bioeconomy. Scott, you're based in Thunder Bay and you're trying to link the North's forestry industry with the Southern Ontario's chemicals and manufacturing industry.
Yeah.
How do you go about doing that?
So that's kind of the point of today and why I'm down here is we're heavily invested in moving beyond the traditional forest products, and a lot of those are using the similar processes that the agricultural sector is either already developing or in co-developing at this moment. So there's a lot of synergies here. There's representatives from the forest industry here that are presenting, especially on the lignin side, and we've been heavily involved in funding a lot of those initiatives as well. There's definitely a chance for Ontario to really come together, both from the forestry side and the agricultural side. So I've been working closely with the Bioindustrial group here and making those linkages.
There's been a lot of talk over the last couple of days about getting sugar out of corn, stover. You're involved in getting sugar out of wood. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so like I said, a lot of the synergies are similar. It's just a different feedstock. And so we've invested in Greenfield Ethanol, which has a plant in Chatham, and looking at how can you extract the sugars from hardwood specifically, and where can you derive extra value from the hemicellulose and the lignin components that come alongside that sugar side. So there's always a market for sugar. What can we do with the extra parts that actually drive the profit side? So there's definitely promise with wood as one of the feedstocks for sure.
What other projects are you involved with, Scott?
We have projects, like I said, anything that has to do with the new use of wood fiber. So all the way from building projects, using some of the tall wood structures. I'm not sure if you're familiar with any of that coming down the pipe in terms of some of the new wood building guidelines up to 6 stories tall. So trying to get at the ground floor, pun intended, on some of those projects and getting Ontario to really drive advanced wood building processing, the chemicals, and also bioproducts. So in terms of compounding plastics with wood fiber, or in this case it would be agricultural fiber, but for us it's wood fiber, and then into fuels. We have a little bit in fuels. We have an investment in Renfrew County with Ensign, which makes a direct petroleum replacement for heating fuel using sawdust. So.
Can you give us a sense of how large a feedstock supply area you can draw from?
So the Renfrew County one, for instance, has 9 sawmills. They supply 25,000 tons to that facility, and it's a 1/4 size. So the ideal in that case for them would be about 100,000 tons a year. Most of the big projects are sitting around 300,000 tons, which is a typical pulp mill already. So we have some idled pulp mills now. There's a lot of capacity for the feedstock logistics to really line up with some new technology that's happening. So there still remains a lot of that connection time. That's kind of the missing piece, is who's leading the charge and how can we get those people to really buy in.
That leads into much of the conversation of this session has been about building a value chain. How important is that to the work that you do?
No, it's number one. So feedstock supply and value chain is really the crux of the technologies have gotten to a point where they're most likely, there's promise there, but now it's how can you actually make all of that happen? And that's really where we've seen projects, on the table and not move forward because of that, really.
From the grassroots end, for corn, it would be farmers who grow it. How about for the forestry industry?
So the forestry industry, we have to remember that maintaining making the primary products industry, so what we call the pulp and paper and your sawmilling industry, remains number one. You're not going to the value that there's derived from that will continue to be the highest value that you can get for the bulk of it. Now we're looking at where can we derive value from either the residual sides, or what other parts of the components add that extra value in a small volume but high prices. So,
is there anything what's interesting that's coming up for the balance of 2016-17 for CRIBE, and that'll lead to your vision for the future?
It continues to be finding values for lignin is one of the key driving components. I think we saw today that that's still one of those. If you're looking at, you have your cellulose, your sugars, the value from that. You have hemicellulose, finding value for that. Lignin is kind of where that profit. You live or die if you can't find a value for that. And so that remains very, very key. And so the investment that we have in Thunder Bay on the extraction facility that we have with FP Innovations is running remains a key component. Composites are really where things are moving as well, mixing fibers, whether that's cellulose or lignin or whatever, into whether it's plastic compounds or making those composites is also a very key strategy for success.
You see lots of new opportunities for CRIBE and the work that you do?
There's a lot of new opportunities. It's really, we're at a place where a lot of the big forest companies are still trying to figure out how they play with that game. And so trying to match up some of this really smart, small things that are bubbling up from the chemistry side or from whatever, trying to really get buy-in from those large producers is the kind of the challenge and the strategy for this next year.